88.1 FM, Lewis University in Romeoville, joined by Jake, Reid, and Patricia. Back in Hockey World again. Last week we did a lot of previewing and reviews over the first week of games, and now another week has passed, and we are ready for another week of reviewing and more predictions. Plus, we will also look at the standings and kind of review where each team has gone in and where we think they have been placed and if it's appropriate for them to be placed there. Plus, we will also look at some fantasy aspects. I will also jump into my history of the day, this day in hockey. So we'll go right straight into the schedule and look at the games over the past week.
Yep.
Which we will start on Tuesday of last week. So
Tuesday the 8th.
Tuesday the 8th. And there was a lot of hockey action throughout the entire week. We had two busy days, one on Saturday of that week, and I believe also Thursday was also another busy day. Almost had about 10 games there. So Tuesday, October 8th, we start with some big wins here for the Anaheim Ducks, getting their second win on the road against Detroit in Detroit's first loss, a 3-1 victory there for the Anaheim Ducks. Not much was given for Detroit. Detroit's first line was doing very good up to this point. Anthony Mantha, Dylan Larkin doing a lot of great things for this team, but they fell short at home here as the Anaheim Ducks are kind of just getting better at this point throughout the season. So, thoughts on any other games as well for you guys?
Let's see. Golden Knights lost to the Bruins, unfortunately. I remember watching that game. They were down 4-2 at one point, I believe. They got one goal back, but it wasn't enough. So that was kind of disappointing. But the Bruins played really well that game. Golden Knights were playing slow, especially towards the end of it. But yeah, that was kind of unfortunate. Looking at the other ones, though, the Stars beat the Capitals, which I find interesting. I don't know a ton about that game, but they beat them 4-3.
Yeah, and they finally did get a win too. The Stars, they had a hard time trying to win because the first three games they lost by one goal each time against their team, and they had an empty net situation all three of those games, and they tried desperately to tie up the game, and it usually was because they were leading in the first period or by the end of the second period too. So they always kept losing the leads and then try to tie up the game late. So this is their first real one that they finally tied up, and they were able to push it to overtime, and they finally were able to win.
Mm-hmm. Rebecca, any games that stick out to you?
I was actually surprised by the Carolina-Florida game, just the scoring-wise. I mean, Carolina was up 4-0 in the first period.
Jeez.
Yeah, and the fact that it ended 6-3 is it could have been a lot more, depending is just seeing how Carolina was scoring. Luckily, Florida's defense and goaltending was able to kind of rebound after that.
Yep.
Now looking at the Wednesday scores, every other game in Tuesday. Let's review the other scores on Tuesday. Edmonton winning against the Islanders 5-2. Winnipeg winning against Pittsburgh in a pretty big game 4-1. San Jose and Nashville 5-2. The Nashville was able to win that one. And LA won their first game of the season against Calgary in overtime. Now, looking at Wednesday, there was only 3 games on Wednesday, and it was kind of headlined by the NBC Sports Network coverage of the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia Flyers. But it ended in a 4-0 shutout for the Philadelphia Flyers, and the New Jersey Devils getting yet another loss on their season.
I think the big story from that day is Vancouver winning 8-2 over the Kings in their home opener, which is a great way to come out and start your season, obviously. Getting that huge win on home ice, or starting out your home ice season, I should say. Getting that huge win and being able to start your season off on the right foot. Well, that Sabres beat the Canadiens in overtime, which was also surprising because Buffalo is performing surprisingly well.
And yeah, they still are doing pretty well in this beginning of the season. Jack Eichel really stepping up in his game, still being the captain that he's expected to be for this team, and he's leading his team well. And plus, they have good depth scoring as well with Jeff Skinner, Ryan, Marcus Johansson, and Joel, and Ristolainen too. Ristolainen is a good defenseman as well for the Sabres. So they have some depth in their scoring and some depth players that they have been really relying on for the part of the season right now.
Mm-hmm.
And now looking at the Thursday games, Tampa Bay beat Toronto 7-3 in what was a very high scoring affair in the first period. It ended in a 4-3 first period. It was quite crazy. I was surprised that we were scoring. So there were so many goals back and forth. But luckily, Tampa, the only problem that Tampa has really had in the beginning of the season is that they've just been committing way too many penalties and putting themselves in really bad spots on penalty kill, and the penalty kill has been even worse than that. I don't even remember the last time we had a good kill on penalty kills at this point.
The only good kill that Tampa Bay has had was last season when they got killed by the Blue Jackets in the first round.
There it is. I knew that was coming. Anyway, so Tampa Bay was able to win this one 7-3. Kucherov had a hat trick. Stamkos got on the board, and Braden Point had his first game back, so he got up on the board as well. Detroit and Montreal ended in a 4-2 game. Joel Armia was again the star of the game there. Joel Armia has been doing really well in Montreal so far, so he's been doing well there. Anthony Mantha, though, still being the first liner on the for the Red Wings, getting up on the board again and being able to win another one for the Detroit team. New Jersey losing in a shootout against the Edmonton Oilers. It seems like what else is new with this Devils team, because they just keep getting more losses no matter how many times they try to even come back. And another loss against them, and Edmonton was able to get there. And also James Neal for Edmonton has been doing pretty well too. He's been getting some points for the past couple games for Edmonton as well.
Yeah, James Neal has been playing really well. Kind of going back to the form he was in his season with Vegas 2 seasons ago when he kind of was hot during the start of the season. He had that 4-goal game.
And then he just disappeared.
Yeah, and then he just disappeared. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. Cause
what James Neal does, it seems.
Yeah, he just kind of shows up at the beginning, and then it's like he's gone, and no one knows where he went.
Or he just shows up for one season and just disappears the next.
Exactly.
Which, unfortunately, has been kind of like the highlight of his career because, he was in Pittsburgh for a long time. He was drafted by the Stars. For the Stars, he was kind of getting recognized as like one of those depth liners, but then he went to Pittsburgh, kind of made a name for himself. And then when he went to Nashville, that's when he really was on the map. He started scoring a little bit more. And then he went to Vegas, put himself on the map again, and then he disappeared again. Same thing would happen when he went to Calgary, and now he's back in Edmonton, putting himself on the map again.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at more of those games, St. Louis winning another one against Ottawa, keeping their win streak at that point still alive. Pittsburgh winning against Anaheim 2-1. Nashville winning against Washington 6-5. Winnipeg winning against Minnesota 5-2. San Jose winning a close one against Chicago 5-4. In Patrick Marleau's first game back, and he had a really good showing for the San Jose Sharks. Sorry about that, Rebecca.
I mean, I love Marleau, so I was fine in that aspect that he won, and like just seeing the what is the word I'm looking for? The love that the fans showed him, like I enjoyed that,
yeah.
And then the game happened, and I just wasn't happy.
Yeah, and the fact that he was on the road too, he still got so much love. That's
Didn't he scored 2 goals that game? Was it?
Yeah,
I think.
And I think he also put him an assist as well.
Yeah,
so
he had a good night.
Yeah, he had a good night as well.
I'm happy for him. The rest of the team, not so much.
Yeah.
The question is Reid happy for him? Because I know he hates the San Jose Sharks.
See, I hate the Sharks as a collective, but Patrick Marleau, he's not bad.
Okay.
He's not bad.
That's fair.
He wasn't on the team last season when the whole not a major thing happened.
So he's not associated with that.
He's not associated with the scum in San Jose.
Plus, didn't he? Actually, I don't know if he was ever on the roster in Vegas's franchise history.
I don't think he was. No,
because he was with Toronto for 2 seasons.
Yeah, he was with Toronto for both years.
Okay, yeah. So you have no reason to hate him then.
He gets a pass.
Okay,
he gets a pass.
Well, Jumbo
Joe though. Right?
Oh no,
yeah, Jumbo Joe. No. They've been in the same career for a long time, but he'll still hate Jumbo Joe.
Yep.
Anyway, forever.
Calgary winning against Dallas in a shootout 3-2 there. Another Dallas close loss. It's just, I don't know what's happening with this Dallas team. They just put themselves in spots where they're able to win, and they just don't win. It's almost like a 50-50 coin flip at this point for Dallas right now. Boston and Colorado. Colorado winning a huge one, 4-2 against Boston. Philip Grubauer having a great game, really solidifying his starter goaltender status as for the Avalanche. And Andre Burakovsky also getting up on the board for the Colorado Avalanche. Gabriel Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen doing a lot of work there. And then Vegas losing against Arizona.
Yeah, that was a rough game.
Yeah.
That was a very rough game. I just want to forget about that one, honestly.
What even happened? Why did they only
I don't
score
even know.
one?
I didn't even watch it that much. I think I assume they just played slow. They either played too slow or they were playing too fast and trying to do too many things at once. But they definitely weren't playing their normal pace.
But Darcy Kuemper did have another nice game for Arizona, really starting to solidify his starting status over Antti Raanta. Friday, October 11th, 3 games. Buffalo winning in a shootout against Florida. Another Buffalo win. Anaheim winning against Columbus. Anaheim starting to pick up some wins here early on. And Columbus is starting to be a little 50-50 here. It's starting to look like an average team a little bit, unfortunately. Islanders in Carolina. Carolina winning 5-2 with another great game from Timo Teravainen. So not a lot to highlight in this one, but possibly just another Buffalo-Florida shootout win. Florida came close in this game, but Buffalo getting another win any way they can to just keep getting some points in their standings. Saturday, October 12th, Edmonton versus the New York Rangers, 4-1. Edmonton winning again this one. Connor McDavid up on the board. Leon Draisaitl, that first line working once again. Mike Smith was a starter for this one, so they were able to finally get a win under Mike Smith there. And Mike Smith had a pretty good game as well. Ottawa winning against Tampa Bay 4-2, and what was the first biggest upset of the season, because of course it had to be against Tampa. And Vladislav Namestnikov, the former Lightning himself, was able to score for the Ottawa Senators, being the first star of the game. So it's kind of only fitting for the Namestnikov to score on his former team that raced him. Kind of like the same way that Marchessault always scores against us as well whenever they play Vegas.
Yep.
Los Angeles winning against Nashville 7-4. Big win for the Kings. Finally starting to get some wins here on the standings. Winnipeg winning in overtime against Chicago. How did this happen?
I don't want to talk about it.
Did you watch it?
I watched part of it.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's
unfortunate.
That's unfortunate.
Hate to see it.
Hey, at least Brad Desai got in the star of the week, star of the game. Even though I don't know how Brad Desai is still doing good at his age.
He's definitely taken a downfall,
They just
but
felt
he's
bad
not
for him.
irrelevant yet.
You know what the problem is that Stan Bowman tries to always bring back the veteran
He's
guys
trying to
and expect them to
recreate-
be the same guys from like 5 years ago.
Like, he traded Panarin for Saad, which I think was a
Oof.
mistake.
That's rough.
That was a terrible mistake. Terrible.
I'm still angry about that.
I would be too, honestly. But I mean, at the same time, I'm also mad that we traded Marchessault away. So I mean,
Yeah.
True. It's just a rough life.
It happens.
Your loss is our
It
gain.
happens. But at the same time, Marchessault was mainly for cap space because we knew he was going to be a star, and we.
You did?
Yeah, you do realize he was like a third liner at that point.
Yeah, but if you knew he was going to be a star, why did you trade him away?
Because cap space. I just said that. I just said cap space.
That's
You
a
know
bit
how
of a
much he's going to be
finger right
worth? You know how much Marchessault was going to be worth? We don't have the cap space for that.
Well, then you just trade away someone else.
Yeah, that's the problem. We couldn't trade away
Like,
anybody
I don't
else.
know.
Stamkos, he's hurt half the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Not really.
He disappears in the playoffs.
Only for that season.
So
but
does
then
the whole team.
Yeah,
but he was also the captain of the team. You're not going to get rid of the captain that easily.
Watch me.
Actually, you know what? Then again, we did trade captain for captain 2 seasons prior.
I think
Marty
Tampa
St.
Bay
Louis.
just should completely scrap the whole team, just start over. They'll request a
No.
non-expansion
You
draft.
see, that's what the Falcons have to do in the NFL, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Football.
We're hockey. We're not-
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
football.
but
I don't know football.
as a Falcons fan, it's just terrible. Anyway, Boston winning against New Jersey 3-0. Another bad loss for New Jersey. It just seems like New Jersey just cannot get on the win column no matter what they do.
Just watch. They're going to turn it around and be like the Stanley Cup winners.
Well, yeah, but they're going to have to turn around a lot of things for that to happen.
Oh, I know.
But it was another good game for Boston. Tuukka Rask getting another nice game. Brad Marchand getting up on the board again. And then we go to the next game. The St. Louis Blues lose their first game of the season against the Montreal Canadiens. And it's just the first game as well for Jonathan Drouin getting up on the board. And Brandon Gallagher also having a nice game for the Montreal Canadiens and a 6-3 victory there. So that's a big win for Montreal. Toronto and Detroit, the original 6th rivalry for a long time standing. Toronto was able to win 5-2. And a nice game by Nick Shore, of all people. Very nice job by him. And it was getting a 5-2 victory for Toronto. Detroit at home is not having a good stand right now. But Toronto gets another W on the board. Shootout victory for the Islanders against the Panthers. Big one there. And this is the busy day. This is about 14 games on the schedule here on this Saturday, October 12th. Columbus and Carolina. Columbus was able to win 3-2 in Carolina's first home loss of the season. Washington versus Dallas. Washington wins 4-1. And in the reverse game that Dallas was able to win, Washington comes in and absolutely stuns that Dallas crowd. Pittsburgh winning against Minnesota 7-4. Minnesota's having a disappointing run right now so far in the beginning of the season. Colorado winning in overtime against the Arizona Coyotes. Big one there. Frank Coos got his first start in net for the Colorado Avalanche. He is a very popular backup goaltender for this franchise. They really like him as the backup goaltender for Grubauer, which is why I have both goaltenders for fantasy, by the way. And they were able to get the overtime win there. But Arizona was able to get the point off that overtime loss. Vancouver winning in a shootout against the Philadelphia Flyers, 3-2. Big one there as well. Philadelphia takes a first road loss of the season. And Vegas was able to win against the Flames 6-2 in what was a very nice game for pretty much the entire team. Carrier, Stone, Nosek, even Glass getting up on the board again.
Yeah, great game for the Knights. I liked watching that one. Very high scoring and fast paced, which was good. They kind of got back to what works after those 2 rough losses.
And Sunday, October 13th, 3 games on the board. Pittsburgh and Winnipeg went at it again. Pittsburgh won again, 7-2. Actually, no, Pittsburgh reversed against the Winnipeg Jets, and they were able to win 7-2. And that was in Winnipeg, so they both got one-on-one in each other. Vegas was able to win against the Kings 5-2, and what is pretty much another Pacific rivalry, at least once the Kings get good anyway. And Paul Stastny was getting up on the board in this game as well, as long as with Max Pacioretty. So the second and third lines doing some work here for the Vegas Golden Knights in this game.
Yeah, that was good to see. Jonathan Quick was rough in goal for the Kings again, but that helped us out, so I'll take it.
You know what the good thing is, though, for the Kings is that Jack Campbell, being their backup goaltender, has still not lost a game, and he's started 2 games already. So they might want to look to Jack Campbell a little bit more for the future.
They probably should.
San Jose winning 3-1 against the Calgary Flames, the first San Jose home game, and what was Patrick Marleau's homecoming game as well. Got a very big standing ovation, was very nice and heartfelt, but he did not get up on the board, which is unfortunate. But Tomas Hertl and Logan Couture did. Monday, October 4th, just yesterday, Boston winning against Anaheim 4-2. Minnesota winning against Ottawa 2-0. Florida winning against the Devils again 6-4. St. Louis winning against the Islanders 3-2 in overtime, and what is their another loss for the St. Louis Blues on a 2-game losing streak now. And the Buffalo Sabres winning 4-0 against the Stars. So the Sabres again off to a great start. Colorado winning against Washington 6-3, and Chicago winning against Edmonton 3-1.
Woo!
And that was finally a good win for the Chicago Blackhawks to get up now with some points in the standings.
Finally a win for the Chicago Blackhawks. Was that their first win of the season?
Yep.
Wow.
1-2-1.
Nice.
We beat the undefeated team, though, so I'll take it.
That's fair. That's fair.
I didn't even realize Edmonton was undefeated until that.
I didn't either, really.
Yeah.
Good for Edmonton, though.
Very, very surprising there. So when we come back, we will preview the next games for the next coming week, and we will also look at some fantasy aspects. This Day in Hockey and more is coming up here on WLRA 88.1 FM, Lewis University in Romeoville. Stay listening to the Dump and Chase podcast.
Welcome back to the Dump and Chase podcast on 88.1 FM, WLRA The Start, Lewis University in Romeoville, Illinois. Reid, Jake, and Rebecca in the studio. Before the break, Jake ran us through the games that took place in this last week, and now we're going to talk about the games coming up.
So starting on Tuesday, October 15th, Minnesota.
Yep.
Yes,
That is today. Yep.
That would be
October
today.
Can confirm.
Can
Can
confirm.
confirm,
It
full
is today.
send.
Yep. Full send.
Minnesota, Toronto. Toronto, this should be a victory for Toronto here. I don't really, I don't know. Minnesota just, I can't really say Minnesota's going to win because I don't know when
'Cause they
Minnesota's
won't.
going to win.
1-4-0. Who knows?
1-4-0, so you never know. I mean, but Toronto's also been doing pretty good this season at home. So, there's really shouldn't be any reason Toronto should win this one. Tampa Bay and Montreal, 6 p.m. on NBCSN.
Canadians win.
Yeah, I figured you'd say that. Anyway, Tampa Bay's been good on the road
Calling
so
it now.
far. As long as Tampa Bay doesn't commit stupid penalties and commit too many penalties, they should be fine.
It's going to be a shutout.
I think the only way that the Canadians don't win is if they don't show up.
You know, the reason I think that this is nationally broadcast, by the way, some little history for you. Montreal and Tampa Bay have been at odds in the playoffs for one of those two seasons, 2014 and 2015. 2014 was the first time Tampa Bay went to the playoffs since 2011 because they were kind of rebuilding for those 3 seasons and trying to revamp their offense. And in 2014, they went to the playoffs as a wild card team and got swept by the Montreal Canadiens in that playoffs.
You know when else they got swept?
Wait for it.
A lot of them.
Oh.
There's a lot of teams.
Last year, first round after winning the President's Trophy.
Anyway.
No response.
The year after 2014, 2015, they came back. Round 2, they faced each other again. And Tampa Bay was able to win, I believe, in Game 5 in a 4-1 victory. And one of those games, I believe it was Game 3 or 4, it was a tie game, and they were able to score with only 3 seconds left in the third period. So they were able to win off an amazing goal as well. So these two have had quite a bit of history in the playoffs in the last couple seasons. Arizona, Winnipeg, the next game at 7 o'clock p.m. in Winnipeg, Arizona. This is actually going to be a very close one. I can't really predict who's going to win this one. I think Arizona could win on the road just because they've really been good on the road. Winnipeg's lost some key games. I think that's kind of put them back in a little bit of an average position. So, but Arizona has a lot of momentum coming into this game. Philadelphia, Calgary, 8 p.m. I think Calgary can win this one. That was also going to be on ESPN Plus. ESPN Plus is starting.
What?
Yeah, ESPN is starting to
Breaking
get some
news.
of these.
ESPN has recognized that hockey is indeed a sport.
For the
About
first time in
time.
10 years or
Yeah.
something. Whatever hockey was on ABC or ESPN. Anyway, Detroit and Vancouver, 9 p.m. in Vancouver in Canada. That one will be close too. I think Vancouver can win that one. And then Vegas and Nashville, also going to be on ESPN Plus.
Vegas is going to win.
Yeah,
All right, they will.
I hate Nashville.
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 It's on ESPN Plus and then the local channels as well. Is that how the NHL's doing this? Or
Mhm. ESPN
okay.
Plus and then the local channels.
Got it. All right.
But only those 2 games though are going to be on ESPN Plus. Philadelphia, Calgary, and Nashville and Vegas. Everything else is on local channels besides the Tampa Bay and Montreal game, which will be nationally broadcast.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's a little bit different. I think ESPN Plus is starting to just run out of content to actually put up on their pages.
They're
at this
starting to
point.
diversify. We'll put it that way. It sounds
Hopefully.
better.
Colorado, Pittsburgh on the next day, Wednesday, October 16th. This one will also will be naturally broadcasted as a Wednesday night rivalry. Don't exactly know where the rivalry is. But, actually, no. The Wednesday night rivalry will actually be later on that night between Philadelphia and Edmonton because 70s rivalries at 8:30. So Wednesday night rivalry will have that one for you. Colorado, Pittsburgh, though, at 6. Toronto and Washington also at 6. Dallas and Columbus, same time on the local channels. And then ESPN Plus will do 2 games late. But Buffalo and Anaheim at 9, and then Carolina and San Jose at 9:30. 2 big games on ESPN Plus, and then Thursday, October 17th, Tampa Bay and Boston, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. Montreal, Minnesota, 6 p.m. as well. New Jersey, New York as the rivalry game on NBCSN, so that one will be good. Hopefully New Jersey actually gets up on the win column for once.
Yeah, they need it.
Yeah, Vancouver and St. Louis at 7. at St. Louis. So St. Louis is back at home, so they should have some momentum to come in with that win. Winnipeg at Islanders at 7 as well. Calgary at Detroit, 8 p.m. Arizona and Nashville. Arizona at home, 9 p.m. Vegas and Ottawa, 9 p.m. Also will be on ESPN+.
Vegas wins that one. Is that the return from Mark Stone to Ottawa?
I believe
I
so.
believe-
His first game back? Or against Ottawa, I should say. They're in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
That should be interesting. I don't think Ottawa will be able to win, though. Because
Yeah.
they're Ottawa.
Oh, darn.
Oh, darn. You never know. They beat Tampa Bay, so.
That, yeah, that's
That's not
true.
saying much, though.
But, yeah.
Wow, nice.
Vegas is on a higher tier than Tampa.
You know, anyway.
Isn't
Buffalo-
Vegas 6 and Tampa is like 19?
Wait, what? For what?
League-wise, positions right now.
Oh, yeah, well, Tampa Bay is 7th because Buffalo's undefeated
Well, is that your division or the whole
in
league?
the division.
I'm talking about league.
Oh, league? Oh, let me see. League-wise, Vegas is 6th. Tampa Bay is 19th, yeah.
Yes, there's a difference of 13 spots there.
But you know what
Math.
Chicago is?
Good job, Reid.
Chicago's on 27th.
I know.
You know where Tampa Bay will be? 31st.
32nd, even though Seattle's not a team yet.
Yeah.
Should I just keep going? should I just keep going anymore? I'm questioning if my life should even
we just
go on
broke
at this
Jake.
point.
He quits the podcast.
I'm like ready to walk out.
We just absolutely broke Jake.
Where's my ambient? Anyway, Friday, October 18th. Colorado. Oh man, wow.
Let's just take a
My
minute,
voice.
collect ourselves, then multiply back in.
I never
Where did
had
we-
my voice squeak like that before.
Oh man.
All right.
Let's take a quick break and then we'll be right back with some more hockey on the Start 88.1. Welcome back to the Dump and Chase podcast on 88.1 FM WLRA. The Start coming back after a short break after Jake turned into a mouse, which, it happens. Jake got a little squeaky there, so we took a little bit of a break because we could not contain our laughter.
Yeah, for the record, I have a very bad voice today. I don't know what happened this morning. I woke up with a scratchy throat, and it's bad today. I don't know what's happening. Hopefully
knows?
it doesn't happen again, but
Hopefully.
no guarantees.
But if it does, who knows? So boy, because we lost it.
Oh,
Anyway, getting back to the games, we were going through the preview of the next week of hockey. Where were we even? I don't even remember, honestly.
Friday, October 18th.
All right.
It's just
Pick us
past-
back up, Jake.
Trying to get to the Colorado-Florida game. And Colorado-Florida, that will be at 6. This is a huge game. This is Colorado versus Florida. I think it's a very close matchup. Colorado is still undefeated. We're going to take a look at the standings after we preview these games, but Colorado still undefeated at this time. So facing Florida is going to be a pretty big game for them. Florida could really put themselves on the map with the win on there. Pittsburgh and Dallas at 6 on ESPN+. That's going to be a nice one there. New York Rangers at Washington 6. NHL Network will be broadcasting that one. Chicago and Columbus also on ESPN+. NBC Chicago, Fox Sports Ohio. Detroit and Edmonton, 8 p.m. And then Carolina and Anaheim at 9. Sunday, October 19th is a busy, busy day. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9,
I just want to
12
clarify.
games.
It's Saturday the 19th.
Okay, Saturday the 19th.
Jiggles forgot how to count there. We went 1, 2, 3, 6.
No, he got the date wrong. He just got the day wrong.
Yeah, I was just trying.
Words are hard, guys. We say that every episode, but they really are
They
hard.
really are hard.
Yeah, add that to the quote board.
It is on the quote board.
Speaking of the quote board,
I am
Let's
working
do a little
on
shameless plug
a
here.
website. I'm uploading all the podcasts to YouTube tomorrow, and then I will be finishing up the website either tomorrow or the next day.
yay, should be able to find us on the web,
Yep.
which is cool. Anyway, back to the games. Jake,
Saturday, October 19th, Vancouver is starting off with Vancouver in New Jersey at 12 p.m. high noon.
will New Jersey get a win?
I don't even know.
No.
No.
New Jersey will go 0-82 this season.
At least Tampa Bay is not going to be last. Montreal and St. Louis at 2 p.m. So those are the only 2 afternoon starts on this Saturday. Ottawa and Arizona at 6. Boston and Toronto renewing their rivalry on NHL Network at 6 as well, and their playoff matchup from last year. Colorado at Tampa Bay, 6 p.m. That's going to be a big game between those two teams.
Yep.
Dallas and Philadelphia at ESPN Plus. Vegas and Pittsburgh also at 6.
Fleury returns to Pittsburgh once again, hopefully to win.
Yes.
Yep, they will win.
Islanders at Columbus, 6 p.m. Close matchup between these two. Could really go either way. Florida, Nashville at 7. Calgary at LA at 9 on ESPN Plus as well. Buffalo and San Jose at 9:30. Sunday, October 20th, Vancouver at New York Rangers at noon again. Montreal and Minnesota at 4 on ESPN Plus. Chicago and Washington at 6 on NHL Network. That should be a good one as well.
Yeah.
Washington tends to do pretty good at Chicago, though, unfortunately.
Tears.
So,
I think a lot of teams do good in Chicago recently.
Reid, shut up.
Edmonton at 1 and at Winnipeg at 6, also on ESPN Plus. That's going to be a nice 2 Canadian matchup games. Calgary and Anaheim at 8 as well. Monday, October 21st. Columbus and Toronto, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. Vegas and Philadelphia, 6 p.m. NHL Network. Colorado at St. Louis, 7 p.m. ESPN Plus, and Ottawa and Dallas at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So that does it for our previews. Let's go right into the standings a little bit for a little while, and we're gonna just do a kind of like half the league, and then we'll go to break and we'll do the other half. Right now, division leaders in the Eastern Conference: Metropolitan, Carolina at 5-1-0, and then Buffalo at 5-0-1. Two teams that, Buffalo has expectations to do better, but they kind of did this last season too, and we don't know when they're going to fall off the map, and even if they do fall off the map. Carolina, though, has expectations to make the playoffs again and even do better than in the playoffs this year, so kind of surprising for Buffalo to be up high at this early, but not as surprising for Carolina in this division.
I feel like Buffalo always gets up early in the beginning of the season, and then everyone thinks they're the Cup contenders.
And then they disappear.
And then they fall on their face and they can't get back up.
So let's look at the rest of the Metropolitan as well. Carolina being up there first. Pittsburgh right behind them, 4-2-0. Washington 3-2-2. New York Islanders at an even 500 at 3-3. Philadelphia only having 3 games played are 2-0-1. New York Rangers also having 3 games played is 2-1-0. It's a weird Rangers schedule, right? Because apparently one of my friends said the Rangers only played twice in 12 days, which is mind-boggling.
Weird.
Yeah, schedule is weird. Anyway, Columbus 2-3-0 as well, and then rounding up the last place with New Jersey, who are still winless at 0-4-2.
Oof.
Very, very big. This division doesn't seem as competitive as it did last year. It feels like the Rangers may get up there, but I don't, we kind of previewed that in the beginning of the season. We don't know if the Rangers are really going to make it enough to go to the playoffs. Columbus has fallen down, and we kind of expected that one. New Jersey was supposed to be up a lot higher. It has just been really bad loss after loss for this Devils team. Really not sure what's happening there. And Philadelphia is, it's a bad sample size because they only have 3 games, so we can't really evaluate on that. But the Islanders being right at 500 is kind of a little bit down for them too. Washington is kind of 3-2-2. It's not great for them for what they're expected to do this season either. But Pittsburgh's right up there. So overall, this Metropolitan division right now just doesn't seem as competitive as it did last year.
Mm-hmm.
So then going into the Atlantic Division, this one is going to be the competitive one because Boston is up there, Toronto is up there right at second and third. Tampa Bay is unfortunately a 7th, but they have played 5 games. They're 2-2-1, and Ottawa is at dead last with 1-4-0.
Leave to Ottawa.
And Florida is up at 2-2-2 and 6th, and Montreal at 5th at 2-1-2. So Montreal's kind of getting up there. Detroit has 3 wins on the season so far, so they're kind of making a push a little bit as well. And then Buffalo, of course, we just kind of went over. We don't know what to expect from them by the end of the season, or even by the end of the half season at this point. So Atlantic is going to be competitive, but it's definitely not going to stay the way it is right now. So just having that conference in mind, Eastern Conference just kind of looks very different from what it did last year, but in the end, I think it's still going to be a very interesting run to the playoffs.
I agree. Still a lot of hockey to be played, but it's always fun to look at the beginning of the seasons and see how everyone's doing, even though some teams only have 3 games, which just amazes me. Don't really know what happened with the schedule there, but...
Yeah, you can't really... It's hard because it's definitely a small sample size right now. But we'll come back for the Western Conference and more here on the Dump and Chase podcast. This Day in History in NHL will also be coming up, so stay tuned here on the Dump and Chase podcast. Welcome back to the Dump and Chase podcast here on WLRA 80.1 FM, Lewis University in Romeoville. It is time for This Day in Hockey History. 1989 was the biggest one when Wayne Gretzky passed Gordie Howe to become the all-time NHL scoring leader. And he did it in front of the fans that cheered him for almost a decade against that Edmonton Oilers crowd. When he was playing for the LA Kings and in this Edmonton Oilers, against this Edmonton Oilers team, he passed Howe's record of 1,850 points after getting an assist in a first period goal. And Gretzky got a standing ovation for 15 minutes as there was a ceremony that he got with Gordie Howe and his parents for that evening in front of a crowd of 17,503 people. And to cap off the evening, he scored again in overtime to give the Kings a 5-4 victory. So a very, very nice moment for Wayne Gretzky. 1964, Ted Lindsay of the Detroit Red Wings became the 4th player in NHL history to appear in 1,000 games at this time when he played in a 5-3 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. At this time, only Gordie Howe, Bill Gadsby, and Red Kelly had played more games to that date. 1972, Stan Mikita of the Chicago Blackhawks became the 6th NHL player with 1,000 points. He had an assist on a goal from Cliff Carl in a 3-1 loss against the St. Louis Blues. And then also in 1983, the Blackhawks and Maple Leafs combined to score 5 goals in the span of 1 minute and 24 seconds, setting an NHL record for the fastest 5 goals scored by 2 teams. Blackhawks scored 3 of the 5 goals during the record-setting outburst, which ran at from 16:49 to 18:13 of the second period, but Toronto would win the game 10-8 at Maple Leaf Gardens. 2009, Nicholas Lidstrom became the first NHL defenseman born in Europe to reach 1,000 points. The native of Sweden reached more than the milestone to 2 assists in the Detroit Red Wings' 5-2 victory against the Kings at the Joe Louis Arena. And then just last year, in 2018, Austin Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs became the 5th player in NHL history to have multiple points in each of his team's first 7 games. Matthews' 2 assists helped the Maple Leafs defeat the Kings 4-1, and he joins the likes of Mario Lemieux, Kevin Stevens of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Mike Bossy and Wayne Gretzky in that category. This has been your day in NHL history.
Thank you, Jake. Very insightful. I like the one about Gretzky with the point record. Saw that on Instagram, and I'm glad you brought it up.
And now we go back to the standings. We're going to go over to the little bit of the Western Conference here. So let's go right into the Central Division. Colorado leading it with the undefeated record of 5-0-0. Still got the 10 points, but only 5 games, so still anything can happen for this team. St. Louis right up there at second place, 3-1-2. They've had a 2-game losing streak, I believe, right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to kind of get that back up there. Winnipeg Jets are right under them at 4-3-0. Nashville right under them, 3-2-0. Chicago 1-2-1. Dallas 1-5-1. And Minnesota 1-4-0 with 5 games played. Dallas has been the most disappointing of this bunch because it just seems like every loss, it seems like they've been so close to a win. The first 3 games I mentioned, they were only
within like a point, right?
Yeah, they were within a point every game, and they had the lead usually in the first or second period, and they would just blow it, and then they would have to scramble to try to tie up the game late in the third period, and their first win came off a late tie, and actually came off the lead. Washington was able to tie it from an empty net goal that was scored with 37-ish seconds to go. Went to overtime, and Dallas was still able to win that game. So they barely staved off their first victory as well, and they also still lost another overtime loss. So, yeah, it's been a disappointing run for this Dallas Stars team, but they hopefully will get back up there. But it just seems like it's just bad luck for the games in Dallas right now. But so far, the standings are as is. Minnesota being at last is kind of surprising, but also kind of not, because we kind of expected them to just be average, I guess, by the end of this year. Chicago at 5th, not really too surprising either, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not a lot of playoff expectations, so that's not too surprising. Nashville at 4th, they're going to be there. I think Nashville could actually just be a wild card team at this point. I don't know if they have the same team as they did, 2 years ago. So I think they definitely could. I think they're still a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to be, leading divisions at this point. Winnipeg kind of the same way. I think Winnipeg's kind of fallen off a little bit, but I think they're still good enough to be third in the division. And I think St. Louis and Colorado are actually your top teams in that division at that point. Depending on who will be first at that point, Colorado or St. Louis, I think those two will still be where they are by the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping into the Pacific Division now, Edmonton is up there leading, surprisingly, at a 5-1-0 record. This is actually a really weird division right now in hockey. Edmonton's up there first. Vegas is at second. Anaheim at third. Calgary at fourth. Vancouver at fifth. Los Angeles at sixth. Arizona at last, even though they have one win against that Vegas Golden Knights team. And San Jose is at 7th place at 2-4-0. This is weird. This is a weird division. And Edmonton's up there 5-1-0, even though Mike Smith hasn't really been doing that great. Even though he's had at least his first 3 games were iffy at best. Koskinen comes in, kind of had a really bad preseason, but then comes in, has a solid 2 games as well. And then all of a sudden Mike Smith comes back and he has another solid outing. So Edmonton's kind of weird on the back end of things, and then Vegas is also there at second place still at 4-2-0. Still chasing that division lead, which
still
I
doing
think
great.
Yeah, they're still doing great, which I think they'll still have the first division lead by the end of the season. Anaheim at third is so surprising, though. They had to change coaches mid-season last year, and were basically bottom of the barrel in the Pacific Division. And now all of a sudden they turn around so quickly with Brian Getzlaf back and some of their young guys coming in at 4-2-0, third place right now. So that's very surprising for the Anaheim Ducks to kind of have a turnaround season from what they had last year. And then Calgary is kind of at an average 2-3-1 right now. And Vancouver, even though they've played 4 games, are at 2-2 at the 500 mark. I think Vancouver can get up there, and surprisingly, if I'm looking at this right now, I'm actually wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season, Vancouver could actually surpass Calgary, and we could see.
That's a hot take.
I mean, we could see a lot of things. I mean, San Jose is really falling off the map right now, and San Jose's
darn.
Wheels are falling off the bus.
They really are. San Jose's been playing some really bad games so far. They do have 2 wins, but I mean, one of them was that overtime win against Chicago, and there's question whether San Jose can keep this up. Obviously, we're only 6 games into this season for most of these teams.
Yeah.
But I mean, so there's a lot of hockey still to be played. But just looking at the early stories and everything, it's kind of surprising how the standings are shaping up right now.
Yep.
So this Pacific Division is definitely like the most confusing one right now, but I'm sure it's going to all reset by half season at that point. But it'll still be interesting to see what we're going to see out of by that time, where these teams will shift in the standings at that point.
Uh-huh. Should we talk about a little bit of fantasy action?
Yeah, so
No.
The first week concluded.
The first week concluded, and guess what? I'm the only one that won my matchup.
What an oof.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but
But-
in Reid's
but- okay.
defense, Reid didn't lose by 100-some points like I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say in his defense.
Rebecca lost. No, Rebecca, you lost by over 200 points. You lost by
Really?
201 points.
What?
492
rough
to
week.
291.
Oh my goodness, 200 points.
I lost
That's a
360
record.
to 356.
Whoa, what just happened? I'm projected to lose this week now.
I was off by 4 points.
Goodness gracious.
Jake won by
It's almost 50. 374
54 points.
377 to
Yeah.
323.
And this
against
is
my
the
buddy.
this is the first day of
Week 2.
week 2. Yeah.
Sure is.
I'm
So this will be the
currently winning.
first like true week because
I'm-
last week was like a week and a half kind of.
Yeah. It was a week and a half because
Yeah.
it was an odd start because the season started at Tuesday,
Yep.
and because they're weekly matchups, they had to basically go almost 2 weeks.
Exactly.
So-
yeah.
So it was a long week, but this time we are finally resetting and going straight up to the regular weeks, and we're going to be ending on Sundays every week,
Yep.
except for when All-Star break's going to happen.
Oh,
and that's
yeah.
going to be
That throws everything off, doesn't it now?
yeah, and I think Christmas break too is going to be a little bit weird. But
Sure.
yeah, so there's a lot of some of the breaks they're going to be a little bit different. But this week 2 is starting off today. It started off yesterday. I am facing my other buddy. His name's Blue, and his name is actually Panarin Bread because he couldn't come up with anything else. He's a big Rangers fan, and he and I were talking about how the Rangers and how some of their guys, specifically Mika Zibanejad, is going to be doing well this season. I beg to differ on that one, but it will be interesting to see what this fantasy aspect will be by the end of this season as well. So I won my first matchup against my other buddy. His name is Hello, and it was kind of scary too because I was losing by 20-ish.
Oof.
By the
Got too many Tampa Bay players on your team.
no, I only have Kucherov, so that's a so
You got
actually
too many
that's
Tampa
a,
Bay players on your team.
Nah,
But
it's
they
coming
kinda-
from the guy who has like 5 Vegas.
I also
players
have
on
one.
his team.
Yeah, that's because they're a
Okay,
good
but
team.
Vegas is doing well, so it works out fine.
Yeah, but he also lost his week 1 matchup because I told him to not take 5 players from the same team because they're not going to play every day. And also,
Yeah,
he
they
doesn't-
will.
Hot take: Reid wins the whole division.
Yeah,
and also
Jake, if I
Holy-
win this league,
we
you-
have 2
you owe me
starting
a
goaltenders
sandwich.
for those fantasy people
You
who
gotta get
know
more out
who
of it
actually
than a
know.
sandwich.
You're right.
Who
You're
actually
right.
know how to play fantasy hockey. You have two goalies in your roster spots, and you only have 2 goal, and he only has 2 goalies in his team. Whereas everybody else knows that you usually need 4 or 5 goalies for your team because they put up the most points and because they're gonna have to play every other day,
Let me look at my matchup last week to see who put up the most points for me.
they can actually put up a lot more points. Anyway, that's a fantasy aspect that people need to recognize is that goalies, and that I didn't really recognize until like midway half season last year, is that goalies are very important.
Let's see.
And having good goalie depth is very important. And also having good defensive depth because defensive depth was not on my side last season.
I should probably get rid of Nate Schmidt 'cause he's still injured.
Still was able to get second place in my fantasy league last season, albeit by having 3 guys inactive in that league. But there was a lot more people in that league as well. So yeah, fantasy aspect is fantasy hockey is very fun.
It is.
And if you do it for money, it's even more fun. But I'm not going to go
Yeah.
into that.
We are broke college students. How are we supposed to put money into that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Jake.
That's why I didn't want to do that.
I bet
So
you
anyway.
meal swipe. That's all we have.
Oh my God, meal swipes! What if they actually betted on meal swipes?
That would be
That
interesting.
would, if you like each week, if this was like all Lewis included, you'd
Just
be like
meal swipes.
just meal swipes a day, like every week matchup, and
That'd be
like everyone
interesting.
would have to give you like, I don't even know. I don't know how that would work. That'd be funny.
I like fantasy so far. It's fun trying to build your own team and try to win and fail in the process, you know?
And you can also do trades. Trades are also
Yes.
an option.
Reid kept trying to get me to.
Yeah.
Who did
Yeah.
you want? Cody Glass
Who did
for
I want? Yeah, I wanted
Alex
Cody.
Nylander.
Yeah.
He also wanted a goaltender for me, and I can't even remember the.
Oh, yeah, that was a bad
offer.
trade.
Yeah, it was a terrible trade.
Who did you want?
I do need to find a way to get Cody Glass from you, Rebecca.
You also just need to find a
No.
way to get a good goaltender at this point.
I have
Wait, who
Fleury.
are your goaltenders?
You have 4?
Fleury and Ranta.
Well, yeah, you need
That's
more
not
than
too
that.
bad.
Because they're not. But again, you're not gonna play. They're not gonna be able to play all the time. So you have to get another goaltender from another team because.
But then I have my great forwards and defensemen who make up for that each night.
Do
yeah,
they, though?
but they don't score as many points as a goalie, because if a goalie wins, that's like 15 points automatically.
Who made the scoring? Jake.
You do realize that every single league does that, right? That where the goalies score the most points.
No, this is my
No,
first year doing
mine
fantasy
don't.
hockey.
That's why I was telling you.
My
Get
goalies don't give me that many points.
Who are your goalies?
Darcy Kemper, Mike Smith,
Corey
and Ben
Crawford.
Bishop. No, I don't have Crawford.
Okay,
But
Darcy.
he's doing good so far.
Well, Darcy
for the
Kemper
team
had
that he's
one
on.
good game.
Yeah,
Plus,
one good
One
game.
good game. Oh boy.
But I mean, they're also switching with him and Antti Raanta, so I mean,
Yeah.
so that's kind of a problem. Mike Smith is also switching with Mike Koskinen, so that's also kind of a iffy. Yeah, you don't want like 50-50 goaltenders. You know, that's gonna.
Yeah, but all the
be a
non
big thing.
50-50s are gone.
Ben Bishop.
True.
Ben Bishop is a good
I drafted
investment.
him first because he was supposed to be really good this
Here's the
season.
thing,
And he's not.
Well, that's the thing is that they're just not winning. If they're winning, you automatically get 5 points for the win.
Yeah, but
So-
he's not winning, so I'm not getting points.
It's not that he's not winning; it's that the team's not winning because they keep going.
Either way, he's not giving me the points
because
he's
they keep
supposed
losing
to.
by one. But I'm telling you, once they stop losing by one and start
If.
getting wins, then
If they
Bishop will
start
be
winning.
yes. Okay, that's
Ben
true.
Bishop will be good.
But Ben Bishop
Fingers
is a good
crossed.
investment.
But
He-
until then, Bishop will be bad.
Because I am screwed.
yep.
Rebecca is screwed. That's what we've learned today with this fantasy, that Rebecca's team is screwed because she has Ben Bishop.
But anyway, that is
That's
also
not
why I have my starting goaltenders as Jordan Bennington and Philip Grubauer. Bennington is
Yeah, but you also drafted early and
You
got
drafted
Bennington.
first. I was
You
the
have to,
last person.
because you have to draft goalie early. My friend drafted Vasilevsky first pick.
But you just drafted early in general. You had like one of the first picks of the draft.
Reid
Okay,
and I had the
3.
last 2
Yeah.
picks of the draft.
Yeah,
but you know-
which is just luck.
yeah, but at the same time, you're still going to find a starting goaltender no matter what position you're on in the first
Yeah,
draft.
I took Fleury.
First
He's a
round.
solid goalie.
Yeah, he
I
is.
really wanted
That's-
to take
that's
Fleury
right.
just so I could
I believe in him.
mess with you.
You
That's
know?
right.
He's my man.
That was actually a really
Dad
good pick,
goals.
too.
He's got my back.
because-
Darn right it was. He comes from Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, along with my other picks. You
And
know?
the fact that he's also just a good goaltender that's going to
Exactly.
start a lot.
Yep. I think I'm going to get the whole Vegas team on my fantasy team. It's going to be all Vegas, and I'm going to win. I'm really tempted to do that.
You're
Maybe I'll
not
need
getting
to,
Cody Glass or
Negotiate a
Nosek.
trade with, you have Thomas Nosek. Dang it. Wow.
They really put fantasy hockey into perspective at this point. They're actually putting the fantasy into very, very specific aspects here. Into very literal aspects right now. But anyway, fantasy
Sure.
hockey is a different world.
That completely made sense, Jake. It is a different world. But
It's
I
a
think
different
Vegas
world.
would still be good. Because they're good in real life, so they'll be good in fantasy, you know?
They just don't play every day.
Yeah, they don't. But when they do good, and they can carry my team, you know?
Yeah, because they're going to score enough points to make up for any other day. I
Yeah, they
guess.
will, because they're wonderful. It's better than having a whole roster full of Tampa Bay
Oh,
guys.
well, have fun at the
True.
bottom 5. Anyway.
I will not be at the bottom 5.
What are you in right now?
Jake's...
Oh, also, I wanted to run over
Okay.
the top,
Where is Jake? Jake
the
is
top
third.
10 waiver.
You're in
wi-
7th,
It's
so that's
because
not
I
too
actually
bad.
won my matchup.
Rebecca is last.
And also,
Yeah.
it's just after the first week, so that's a terrible sample size.
That
Anyway,
is, yes.
top 10 waiver pickups for fantasy hockey. Number 1 in forwards, Rope Hintz, Dallas Stars. Rope Hintz?
Oh, never heard of him.
Oh, well, yeah, he's a really good forward. He's been scoring a lot lately. He has had 5 points, 4 goals, 1 assist, and 13 shots on goal in 5 games. So he's getting up there when it comes to fantasy. Ryan Johansson for Nashville.
I have him. Let's hope he comes in clutch.
Yep, putting in some points there. Jonathan Drouin as well for the Montreal Canadiens. Personally, though, I would not take him because I know Jonathan Drouin is going to suck by the end of the season.
Because he played for Tampa Bay.
And also just because he sucks in Montreal. Anyway.
Wow.
Ilya Kovalchuk
Harsh.
is... I don't agree with this one either, though. Ilya Kovalchuk is okay for now. But let's be honest.
He's not going to last
He's
long.
not going to last. Ilya Kovalchuk did not last season. I don't think he's going to last this season.
Yeah.
Ryan DeZingle is a good one because he is starting to get some up there. He could be a good long-term investment for anybody that wants to take him because he could start seeing some more on-ice action. Vladislav Nemesnikov for Ottawa, he's a good one too. He did score against Tampa Bay, and I think and he just got traded to Ottawa not too long ago. So I think he can definitely, and he fits right into the Ottawa lineup. So he could definitely put up some more points for your team as well. And Tanner Pearson from the Vancouver Canucks as well, doing some really good job for Vancouver. Vancouver's been high scoring for the first 3 games, and Tanner Pearson has been one of those guys in that lineup has been doing well. Defenseman, Neil Pionk, doing some great, creating some assists. He's got 2 goals and 3 assists so far this season. And Oscar Klefbom, who's been on a tear so far, he's got 4 power play points, 9 shots on goal in this span. It's in 4 games, so he's been doing really well. So if you're in those kind of leagues where shots are also a big point maker in your league, I would take him as well. And also goaltenders, Mike Smith and Thomas Greiss, I think depending on how many guys you have in your league, I think Mike Smith or / Koskinen could be a good investment for Edmonton. It depends though, because Edmonton might switch between those two. We don't really know who is the starter in Edmonton right now, and it's really weird because Koskinen had a terrible preseason, but he had 2 really good outings so far for Edmonton, and that's a big reason why they're still winning right now. And Mike Smith had a terrible first 3 games with the Oilers as far as goaltending wise, but they're still able to win against those teams, and he's still 3-0. So, but he's also got a 2.67 goals against and a .907 save percentage so far. So, his numbers aren't that great, but if you're looking for wins, I guess the wins is going to be the most important. Then you could also pick him up. I just picked up Thomas Greiss, though. Thomas Greiss is going to be half and half of Varlamov. My prediction is that Varlamov, even though he's technically the starter for the Islanders right now, I feel like he's going to fall off the map. Either that or he's going to get injured again because he's Varlamov. And Thomas Greiss is going to fit right in there for the Islanders. And because I also know that the Islanders are trying to get into the playoffs again, I know that they're going to start getting some wins. So having Thomas Greiss could be a safe investment for the end of this fantasy season.
Yep. All right. Well, we've covered a lot today. Went over past games, future games, a little bit of everything fantasy, a little history. But I think that does it for, what are we at now, episode 6?
Yep.
Is this the 6th episode? This is the 6th episode of the Dumb and Chase podcast. You can find it on our new website, which is, what's the website?
I don't know yet. I haven't published it yet because I'm still working on it.
The website is a work in progress. Look for it. We'll talk about it in next week's show, but you can also find us on social media, Instagram, correct? We have an Instagram page now.
I haven't posted anything yet.
_and_Chase.
Yep.
So find us there, give us a follow. See our brand new logo that Rebecca made. That should be there, I assume.
It is on there.
All right, yeah, you can see our new logo on our Instagram page. See all of our little clips from our past shows, and then head to the website once it's up to see all of our past full episodes. So, for Reid, Rebecca, and Jake, this has been the Dumb and Chase podcast on 88.1 FM WLRA, the Start, Lewis University in Romeoville, Illinois. See you next week.